Alrighty, good morning, everyone. Thank you all for joining us today. I hope you all had a great week. Thank you for joining us. We have the infamous, the notorious Christine Magliocco here with us today. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I greatly appreciate Christine putting in the time and dedicating this hour to us to go over all your tips and tricks.
Thank you.
We have a lot to go over, and this is going to be an amazing one. I think that everybody knows that Christine is our most tenured agent on the team. She is the queen of Fairfield. And I'm looking forward to hearing all of the great things that you've done over the years that you would like to share.
Okay, great.
Thank you very much. I'll pass it over to you.
Okay, thanks. Thanks everybody for taking time out of your day. I don't know, I kind of feel like all these things I'm sharing, I always think like, well, you all probably know all of this, and we have such a great track record. It seems like everybody's doing just fine. So you don't need to do anything for me. But we always talk about open houses and how to make the most of them and the most of the people who come in and that sort of thing. So I just thought I would share, kind of what I've learned over the 20 years of doing this. And a lot of what I've learned is just by following Julie and following what she says and listening to what she does. And, I guess over the years, I've tweaked it a little bit to become my own type of thing. But, until I really sat down to prepare this, I didn't even realize that I had anything to say or do. And all of a sudden I was under these note cards and all this stuff and talking. So yeah, anyway, so if anybody has any questions at any time, just ask away. But I thought there are a couple of things that I would talk about. And one thing is, doing an open house, you raise your hand, you say like, oh yeah, I'll do an open house. Well, there's a lot that goes with that. If you plan on doing it like on a Tuesday, you're going to do an open house on a Saturday or Sunday. It's not one of these things where you don't think about it until like you're putting your shoes on Saturday at 11:30 and going out the door. You've got to be working that all week. So starting on whatever that day is that you decide to do this, there's a couple of things you should do. First of all, you should know the price range that the house is in. You should know the town, and you should know right down to the street. So like macro to micro, right? So if it's a price range, like say it's, I don't know, $1 million to say it's $1 million house, you should know everything from 800 to 1.2 and kind of everything in between, and know what your competition is. Know who those other realtors are that are listing those houses. Back in the day, it was harder for us because there were so many houses on the market, right? So we could be in a house and there could be 20 other houses that fell in that price range. So it wasn't really easy because what you'd want to do is know all these houses so you could talk about them. Now it's a lot easier because maybe there's only 5 or 6. So it's easy to go out during the week, go out, see those houses. If you're doing your open house early in the week, you could go on the house tours. Sometimes you don't have to make specific appointments because you're out there on Tuesday or Thursday or whatever day the open houses are, broker tours for that town. And just learn them, because the people that come into the open houses, they know them, and either they're going there after you or they've already been there before they got there. And actually that leads me to like one of the questions I usually ask people, like as soon as they walk in, after you say hi and introduce yourself and that kind of thing, I usually say to them, have you seen any good open houses today?
Oh, wow.
And
Really?
depending on what time it is,
Yeah.
right? Like if I'm there from, but the times are so different now. It used to be like 1 to 4, that was it. Now it's like people do them 11 to 1 or 12 to 3. So you can always say like, oh, have you been to any other open houses? And usually they'll tell you. And then you get an idea, right? And then if not, sometimes they'll say, oh no, this is our first one. So at the end, you always want to remember, oh, so what house do you go to next? That kind of thing. This is something I know everybody is familiar with this. I'm going to jump to this for a minute just because we were talking about it. But our nearby points of interest, our map. So one of the reasons we did this, one of the main reasons we did this, is so we'd have talking points with people that walked in. And I was just saying to Mariano before, it's funny because in Fairfield here, I always feel that, I don't know, maybe 80% of the people who walk into our houses, the younger buyers, right? The people that are just starting out and that kind of thing, or starting their families. A lot of them went to Fairfield U, or they have some tie here to Fairfield U. And they would always walk in, and I would like play a game with myself and try and guess whether they went to Fairfield U or not. And a lot of them did, and a lot of them were all coming back. So, way back in the day before we had this, we all talked about it, and I thought, or we all thought, what could we do to talk to people like that? Like, what else can we talk to them about that might be common when they're walking in, to kind of break the ice and that sort of thing? Because I think people these days are a little more talkative than they were in those days. It seemed like people would walk in and they really wouldn't say anything, and you'd have to figure out how to break, and talk to them and that kind of thing. So these are good talking points. So when you do get stuck and you're in an open house, you don't know what to say to people, bring out your brochure and just start showing it to them. And, bring up this map, because what I would say is, I'd say to them like, oh, gee, it's so great because you can commute from here and the train is actually a mile. And right away they'd say, oh yeah, we know the train, we commute. Or, oh, and then I'd go to Fairfield U and they'd say, oh, we know Fairfield U, we went there. And then you can ask them, well, oh, wow, you went there, so you must live here now. No, we live in New York. We moved out, we just had a baby, this, that. And then they start talking on their own.
Wow.
And that's what you want. You want that, because sometimes you can't do that right away. So it gives you an idea. But this is a whole book chock full of talking points that will help you at an open house. So that's one thing.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
When
questions.
you talk about, when you ask them what open houses have you gone to so far?
Yeah.
And they'll tell you, like, you're doing 123 Main Street,
Yeah.
and they've already been to 456. As you're going along the house, do you make mention to, like, oh, and 456 has this?
Yes.
Like, do you reference back the other house?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if they've said something about it.
Okay.
Because sometimes they'll say, I'll also try to figure out where they're signing into our book, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully 2 people are walking in, or a group of people are walking in, one goes to the book, one starts talking to me, right? So as they're going to the book, and Julie will tell you this, I don't know if Julie's on right now, but Julie will tell you this, and she does this religiously. She'll, hi. She'll talk to people. Hello.
Hi, guys.
You can correct me if I'm wrong, but Julie will talk to people. She'll be talking to Krista, and Mariana will be signing the book. And as everybody starts moving around, Julie's doing this. Right? And I've seen her do it. Hi. And she'll do things like this. And then sometimes she'll pick up the book and she'll say, oh, you live on Jett Street, right around the corner. And they'll say, and then this is another talking point, right? So as we're going through the house, we could say something like, oh, you're at, 264 Jett Street. I sold the house next door to there, 5 years ago. And then they're going to say, oh, really? Yeah, that was my mom's house. I grew up there, or whatever. So then as you're walking through the open house, like you said, you can say, this house has, the gate outside, just like they do at Jett Street, or, oh, you must be familiar with the house on the corner of High Street if you live here. And then again, it's just about making them comfortable and figuring out things that you have in common, right? So they trust you. And I don't know, I always think too that people come to open houses, there's a very small chance that the people that walk into that house are going to buy that house, right? Sometimes it happens, but if you have 10 groups come through an open house, 9 of them are not getting that house, right? Maybe that one person does. So like already you've got to think about, what are you talking to them about, right? Because it might not be this house that they get. And they might not even be there for that. They might be there because they're looking at houses because they live in the neighborhood, or they're visiting their parents, and their parents are going to sell their house. And they have no intention of moving to Fairfield at all, but they want to see how this house is going to do because their mom is going to sell her house in 6 months. So that's also something you want to keep in mind, because maybe you'll be the realtor that helps the mom with that house. So then you keep in touch with those people and you let them know what's going on and that sort of thing. And then sometimes I think they're checking us out, right? Because maybe they're going to be selling a house in the next 6 months to a year, and they want to see, like, how we handle ourselves selling the house that we're in.
That's a
So, yeah.
really, really, really good point that I just want to Christine's point. A lot of, my business I got busy more listing houses than selling houses from open houses because we market so much differently than everybody else. So that's such a good point that remember to watch your language and never share anything that you don't think is appropriate or like, oh, well, just make an offer. Like, and if you're going to share something, I always say, oh, the seller has, I just did it yesterday when I was talking. The seller has given me permission to let you know.
Oh, sorry. Did the whole thing
We-
freeze?
She's still
We
talking.
lost you, Julie.
Ellen's frozen too,
She's still
though.
talking though.
No, Ellen's not frozen.
Sorry, guys.
Oh, there she
Oh, no,
is.
there she
There you
is.
go.
She's back. Okay, you're all back.
I was just saying, I usually will say that I'll usually preface something with the seller gave me permission to share. It's a really important phrase because if you say something like, oh, make an offer, I think they'll take less. If they're selling,
Just said that?
Mm-mm.
Lost you again, Julie.
I'm gonna say
okay, I don't know. I guess it's
Mark.
Maine. I'll try over here. I don't know how much you heard. All I was saying was sharing that the seller has given me permission to share. Whatever it is, the seller has given me permission to share that he'll be somewhat flexible. Whenever you can insert that phrase, it's resonates with the buyer who's going to sell because you're not sharing anything that the seller wouldn't allow. So if you're like, oh, well, I think he'll be, you never know. I think he'll probably be negotiable. It makes it seem like you're not really working for the seller as much and you just want to get it sold. Whereas if you say the seller has given me permission to share, it does let them know if they sell their home, your fiduciary responsibility is to them. Just a point, because Christine's point on we're there to get listings as much as we are, if not more, to get buyers. So how you behave as a seller is so important. And I just want to, Christine, that was an amazing point to point out.
Yeah, and that's a good point too, because it shows that you're respecting your seller by that.
Exactly.
And about that phrase, I have permission. It sounds very, thoughtful and respectful. And yeah, we have to remember that they might be coming in for that too, for that reason too. So you don't really know why anybody's there. And you kind of try to figure it out. And then, I'll jump to like lasting relationships. That's one of the slides here. And that's an example, right? So you might have people that come in, they're not going to buy a house, but they're there representing someone else, or they're there representing their kids. They're saying like, oh, my kids are in New Jersey, but we want to get them up here. So I'm looking at open houses for them. So important to follow through that relationship with the parents to get to the kids, right? But then keep that relationship going, and then you end up working with the whole family in the end, which is good. Anyway, jumping back to that, we've been jumping all over the place. Jumping back to this map, I just thought I'd show you something really fun. So this is the first map. I don't know if you can see this one. That's the first map. So I had a client on Jennings Road. We never sold the house, but she was my first client, it was my first listing. She ended up putting a second floor on and she still lives there to this day. That was the first map that we had experience with. And I brought that back. She was a graphic designer. So I kind of talked to her about what I wanted to do with my talking points in the map. And I brought it back to Julie. And, whenever we had an idea, just like now, we bring it through to the team. And then that kind of evolved to this. I have so many, but I'll just give you a couple. That evolved into that, right? I don't know if anybody remembers that. That's a while back too.
Oh my God.
That, it doesn't
I
seem
do.
like it's that far away. And then obviously, what we have now. We have our numbers and we're able to Google points of interest and talk about how close we are to walking trails and schools and walk to school and stuff like that. And I think that's really my number one, to start talking to people, because all you have to do is show people something or show them this map, and right away they're in it and they're talking about it and they're like, where they go and what they use there. So that's important. But another thing that we have on this slide are three things: before, during, and after. So, okay, so you know that once you decide to do the open house from like, Tuesday to the day of the open house, you should see all of your competition, everything on the street. There are times when, we have these diverse streets here in Fairfield where like you can have a $2 million house at the end of one street, and then you can have a $400,000 house at the other end, or, different types of houses and things. So you should know everything on that street, so you can talk about that. And you never want to pull into your open house and look next door and there's another for sale sign and you didn't know anything about that house. I mean, it's kind of easy now because you could just look it up on your phone. But so look at the street, look at the town, look at the price range, know all those things and prepare yourself before you get there. And then during the open house, sometimes you feel like nobody's coming, right? You're just kind of sitting there, you're waiting, the lights are on, you have music on, whatever else. So there are things you could do during the open house. And I know we kind of know this because we must do it. Well, we usually do it. But cross-marketing during the open house is important, right? Cross-marketing with realtors that you network with friends, that sort of thing. You can always, send out a text message to the realtors that you work with and let them know where you are. A lot of realtors do this all the time. We do it with broker tours all the time where we say, hey, everybody, I'm here. I have lunch catered from the pantry. Come to Reed Street at 12 o'clock. And it's like 11:30 and the broker tour's been going on since 10 o'clock. But people will come because they'll see that if they can. So same thing during the open house. Sometimes you can write to other agents and say, hey, I'm here until 2 o'clock. I thought you might have a client in this price range. I'm not sure. Or maybe reach out to realtors that have those houses in this price range.
Yeah.
And reach out
That's a
to
great
them.
idea. Like when you're there, if
Yeah.
things are getting a little like stale or slow,
Yep.
use that time because like during the week, like we always say, or I've mentioned to people who are like, we need traffic at the open house or we need traffic because we're not getting any showings. It's always good to look up who is active in contract and sold that are comparable because they might have somebody who came to their open house who was looking at that same price range and area but didn't get it because kind of like what you're saying, if you have
Yeah.
two people in an open house, only one person's getting it,
Yeah.
so there's 9 other people.
Right.
So if those agents know those people, being at the open house is actually the perfect time to do it because it's almost like you don't have to create new time to make that
I know
those
it's all set.
it's all there. Yeah.
All
So you might as well just do it. And then if anything, it'll kind of spur in their mind too, like, oh yeah, maybe I should, like now I have a reason to call that person,
Yeah.
like they might be looking for that reason to call the open house people. And now
Yeah.
you kind of gave them that push to do it.
Right, and
Yeah.
people have done it with me too, or I'll answer the phone on a Saturday or Sunday and I'm who knows where. And they'll say, oh, Christine, remember you said you had a client that might be good for this house? I'm here at the open house till 3 o'clock. I'm like, I might be.
You're like, bing.
And I'm like, oh, okay, you know what?
Yeah.
Now I can write to, my client and say, oh, PS, Katie just wrote to me and she's at that open house.
Right.
Why don't you go?
Yeah.
Or if you're around, can you stop by?
Yeah.
You can even ask them to stop by for you. I
Right.
could say, I'm out of town. I really wanted to go too. Can you go check it out? Or that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
So that's, and that's a way. And there's been times when I would sit at an open house and I'd be like, oh my God,
What's
nobody's
happening
here?
here?
What's happening? I'm here. The lights are on. Let me tell my client. And I've done that and people send people.
Mm.
Or now realtors come,
Mm.
right? Because, back in the day, I feel like we didn't have to do that. But now, especially with houses, sometimes people don't put them on till Friday. So it's like, of course I didn't see it. It just went on Friday night and it's already Saturday. So a lot of times you do get realtors through the door, which is good too. So that's something. And then of course us, right? One of our strong suits is that we have each other and we're a team and we know where we are. So if there are 6 of us doing an open house on a given day, I know where my other 5 teammates are. I'm going to call everybody, or I'm going to send a text out on our text chat and say, hey, how's everybody doing? Did anybody get anybody? What's going on? Like, are you busy? Are you not busy? What are you finding? And then, cross marketing to our houses, which I know we must all do anyway, because the people.
But can I make a point on that? Because we used to do it a lot more. Like we had when you picked up your materials, you have the list of where everybody is. And I think we've lost that a little bit because it just shows collaboration so much, which is so rare. So having that list and just saying, oh, maybe go visit Christine at this property when you're in front of a buyer's open house, because they're so used to us trying to sell them where they are. When we send them to someone else, they're like, wow, they're really thinking about what we want versus what's best for them. So we used to call each other much more than we do and really say, hey, I'm sending over so and so. Because, and remember, we used to do the blue bulletin works too, because you'll have the blue bulletin, so you'll know what the open houses are. But knowing who's where is really important, and texting them and saying, check this, especially when we try to do open houses that are similar price points at the same time, of course. But really good point again, Christine, to really like, I think we still do it, the list of people, I know it's somewhere, who's where. So I
Got it.
really highly recommend we take a look at that before we start our open house, so it's in our brain, so we can absolutely cross-market our properties and our off-market properties. Remember like, we should all have a list of our coming soons or our, pre-marketing ones, because everybody wants to know what's not available. So it's you saying, oh, through our matchmaking program, we have such and such, my teammate Chrissy is getting a property in the beach area. And you can either share the address or tell them that you will later, so that they know that you're getting information from our client, from our team, that isn't available yet.
Right, and a lot of people, I don't know anybody who doesn't check that off. May I send any listings that appeal to you before they come on the market? Like, who says no? Nobody. So that they're waiting for that. So that, again, that's another reason to reach back out to them, and you have to figure out, are you gonna talk to them now about it, or are you gonna wait? Or can you take them after the open house or something like that? But yeah, what Julie says too is really important about, sending them to somebody, right? So if I say, oh, Chrissy is down on Blaine Street and she's at an open house now, and you should see that, because if you like, these types of things, you'll really like that kind of thing. So she's there till 4 o'clock. Do you think you'll go? Oh yeah, we'll go, blah, blah, blah. Okay, great. And then I call Chrissy and tell her, text her, and she's waiting for them, right? And then I said, oh, family's gonna pull up, they're in a white minivan and blah, blah, blah. So they pull up, she knows it's them. So right away, she can greet them like, how are you gonna feel? Like, you're going to open houses and now we're expecting each other. Like, it's just a good, and Julie's right, it shows collaboration, and it shows that, we're not just trying to sell them the house that we're in, because so many realtors do that. One of my first open houses, a woman walked in with her parents, and it was on Adley Road. And I took them through the house. And back then it was a really long time ago, we had our newspapers, right? And we'd have our newspapers because in the Sunday paper is where all of our open houses were. So really, once they were done, she said, well, I have to tell you something. I'm not moving to Fairfield. I live in Shelton, and I'm really looking at houses there. But we looked at this house because I think they were at a dinner party or something in Fairfield at Cinzano's or wherever. And they stopped by, and I said, oh, you want to buy a house in Shelton? Come and look at this. And I pulled the newspaper out, and there were like a couple open houses in Shelton. So boom, I send her to the open house. Maybe, wait a minute, maybe she didn't live here. I think none of them lived here, but she wanted to live in Shelton because her friends lived there, because they didn't know how to get there. Right. So I remember saying, I gave them my number, and they gave me their number. And I said, here's the best way. And I wrote out directions to get to this house in Shelton. And then when they got there, they called me, and I ended up selling her the house the next day.
Oh my gosh.
So like, who knew? But here I did. I took somebody that was at my Fairfield open house, and I'm like, oh no, if I send her to Shelton, she's gone. I lose her.
Yeah.
But I didn't lose her. I ended up selling her house.
Wow.
So, and we kind of do that now too, right? I guess.
Yeah.
But anyway, going back to the point of, people aren't always in that house to buy that house. They're usually not. So you just have to kind of figure that out.
Can I say one thing about a point that Christine made that I want to just point out is such an important, valuable point that I think We did more in the past, and a lot of you may still do it, but Follow Up Boss is such a huge tool for inviting people to the open house before you go. So as soon as you know you're going to do an open house for someone, whether it's your property or not, you want to send an email to your database of of even a wide range of price point. And even if it's not really in their price point, you can send an email saying, hey, because there's, we want, we want reasons to reach out to these people and be in touch with them instead of just, because if you go into Follow Up Boss, a lot of our clients are just getting the automatic email once a month. So imagine if they're getting the automatic email once a month, but they're also getting, and I highly recommend a bomb video or just a video embedded into the thing saying, hey, I just wanted to let you know I'm going to be at this open house. I'd love to see you. There's some things happening in the market, and we through our matchmaking program, I do have properties that are not on the market I can share with you. So if you want to swing by, I'd love to see.
Oh, I think we lost you, Jules.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You can mass merge that email to 100 people that haven't heard from you in a while. Now they're seeing your face. They're getting the link to the property. Point instead of a mass email that they know is just a general like monthly newsletter. So it's a way for you to keep in touch with all those realtor.com leads that are really old that you haven't been in touch with, and you can just send the email, and it takes the same amount of time as it takes to send one email. You can send so many emails. So I love that point, Christine, as far as getting in touch with people prior to the open house. And I know we all get busy, but I think as soon as you know the open house you're going to do, if you can dedicate 15 minutes of time within the next day or two to do that, you're going to have a better response, whether they come to the open house or not. They're going to be thinking of you when they.
Now I'm back. Okay.
Am I still?
When you have those, those moments where nobody's there, that your client, you see a familiar face, right? And your client comes in and you're like, oh, thank God. So that's always nice too, for us, because sometimes we're there and there aren't as many people there as we think. What else? Oh, positioning of the book. I don't know if we talk about this so much anymore, but it's really important to put this book in front of where you want people to look. Right? So if this is a room, if this is my waterfront beach property, and this is the water, right? Where am I going to put my book? Am I going to put my book over here? No, I'm going to put my book right here. So when people come in and I greet them at the door, and I'm going to be off the screen. So say I greet them at the door here, and then I say, oh, would you mind signing it? What am I doing? I'm pointing them to the waterfront.
Oh, wow.
Right? So they have to go here, and I mean, this is not the best table to do this, but you know what I'm saying, right? So now they're here, and now they're doing this,
And they're
and now they're
looking.
looking at the water,
Yeah.
right? So that's what I want. And then I always have to think about, where am I standing too, right? I want to be standing in front of the water. So they're filling out the book and I'm standing here. So they're looking up, they're looking at me, and they're seeing this whole frame of my big money view of what this house is, right? I don't want to be standing like near the door or like the fireplace. I want to be standing in front of what I want them to look at.
That's a great, great strategy.
Yeah, because that's what you want them to see. You don't want them to, a lot of times we put these like on the counter near the sink, or, we put it, the cabinets are here. So what are they doing? They're like looking up at cabinets. You want to make sure that they're looking at whatever you want them to look at. And you can do that by just putting this book where you want them to go. So that's really important too, because a lot of times they're sitting there for a little while and they're filling this out. And then another thing that Julie always does too, at the end, is as you're walking them back out, or you're walking back around, or you're ready to say, oh, okay, I wanted to give you, let's see, what am I going to give you? I'm going to give you this, because we talked about this. you know, 30 great things about Fairfield, you know, whatever you talked about during the time. And then Julie will always look back at the book and look at the blanks and say, oh, wait, I just want to make sure. Okay, what was your email again? Or, and then repeat their phone number to them, repeat their email to them, because so many times they leave, you sit down to do this, to text or email, oh, it doesn't go through. Oh, it's not working. Or you think you sent them an email or a text and you see later that it didn't happen. So a lot of times people like scribbling, scrambling. So that's another way to just solidify all that information and actually get more, because for the ones who didn't really fill it out, now you're asking the question, now they're giving you the information, right? And yeah, there's some people that won't, but you know the people that.
And they usually, even the ones that don't want to, when you start talking about matchmaking program and properties off market, say, I usually will say something like, I think Chrissy's getting one in that area. Let me get your email and I can send it to you before it comes on. So if they think they're getting something, they're more likely to share it. So if they haven't given it, I always say, we have a whole portfolio of properties before they come on the market, we can share with you. I'll just share the ones that I think you'd be interested in. Why don't, let me just get your email and I'll send them to you. And they're more likely to give the email if they left it blank, if you tell them that.
Right, because they don't know why we're collecting this information. They could think like, oh boy, they're just taking my name and number and they're putting in some database and I'm gonna be on some mailing list or whatever. But if you tell them, look, this is why we're doing this, because
Exactly.
we'll be able to help you when these houses do come on the market, and that kind of thing. So it's important to say that to them, because we assume that they know that, but they don't know that. And they may have been to 4 other open houses where they had to fill out these forms. And again, they don't know why they're filling them out. So if they know, the more they know, the more success I think that you'll have. And then one of the other things about, okay, so position your book, position yourself. Always be attentive and watch that entry, especially, I mean, it's hard when there are a lot of people there. We know we're just trying to like get everybody and that's a whole nother class, but be attentive and watch that door. First of all, you want to do it for safety, but another reason is because you want to see, like, so many times I've had that young family with like an infant and a 2-year-old, and you kind of see them get out of the car, and then you just see like the dad come in with the 2-year-old, and there's a mom out there with a baby, right? So what do? You say like, oh, is somebody out in the, and they'll say, oh yeah, no, she's feeding the baby's crying, whatever. So then you offer to them, okay, well, when you're done, you go back in and your wife can come in, or I can help you, or whatever. It goes a long way. And then you can, you figure things out, and you figure out like, do they have time? Is their baby like about to explode? Do they have to go? Is he gonna have 5 minutes and then I can follow up with them later? Or would they appreciate sending the wife back in, or whatever, whatever it might be. And then it also gives you like, 60 seconds to figure out who's coming in.
Right.
Is it an older couple? Is that couple buying for themselves? Are they here because they're looking for their kids? Is it like a big van of a family with the grandmother, and then there's a baby, and you're like, okay, this is like a lot of generations. Are they all living here? Are they each looking for a house? What is it? So that's really important too, to know that. Don't sit in the back room. Don't sit, at the island if you can't see the front door from the island. I mean, so many times I've like gone and I'll sit on the stairs. It's like the worst place to sit, but that's the only way I could see the door and see people coming in. This is if you have time.
Yeah.
Right? If there's people coming in, you have a steady flow, then you're just,
Yeah, but this is all good because it's about adding nuance and strategy to every part of what you do.
The whole day is a strategy.
Exactly. To really increase your conversion. Because at the end of the day, that's what this is going to do.
Yeah.
It's going to increase your chances of converting that person, whether it be for that house or another house.
Right.
And all these little things are going to add up to getting, like, a lot of these are different ways to create talking points. A lot of these are different ways, and the strategy of the talking point is to get more information out of them, not to give them more information, but actually to get their response.
Right.
So it's really, as much as as much as we have to say about the points of interest map, it's not really about telling them about the points of interest map. It's not really about telling them, oh, I'll watch your car for you if your wife wants to come inside. That's not the point. The point is, what are you going to say back to that?
Right.
What is that person going to
What are
say
they
back?
reacting to?
Exactly. How are they reacting to it so that you can then strategize your conversation moving forward? How do you get them in closer? How do you send them to the next open house? How do you create more value for them by their response? Not from what you're able to say, but the response that they give you.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
And that's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Right? We're looking for, like, what excites them? What are they responding to? Because then we can figure out what they need.
Right.
And that's really what they want.
Right.
That's really what they want, I think. Okay, so what else did I have?
Do you want me to pull up the slides?
So, oh yeah, I guess we should do that.
Also, while you're doing that, keep in mind, like one of the things that we used to do that I want to start doing again is like if there's something going on in the area, knowing about it. So like especially if people are from out of town saying, oh, there's a farmer's market if you're in town right down the street if you want to check out this location, or oh, Silverman's Farm has a pumpkin patch and we used to have coupons, and we can talk about that kind of thing later. But bringing the value about the area and knowledge about the area, or following up, like that's why I always make notes on the sign-in sheet. If they're interested, like if sending like if they're asking about private schools, I write down private schools and then I'll send them a link to, just thought you might be interested, and here's a link to the private schools in the area. So they feel they heard you. So all those little nuances of things that, to Christine's point, you're getting as much information as you can, but that gives you the opportunity to follow up. And sometimes we forget to follow up with little things that have nothing to do with the house, but make them feel heard. So Christine, you're bringing up so many phenomenal points. I'm so grateful for your time.
Yes, of course. There's something I was going to say, and I lost it for a minute. Oh yeah, so Reed Street. I have this here, so I'm thinking about it. I have a friend. She discovered Connect Fairfield. Debbie O'Keefe. She does all of that, all of the events here. So she asked me if I'd put these cards down on the island about the September Food Fest, right? So that is something, Julie, that I ended up talking to people about, because as they were leaving and I was giving them a brochure or whatever it might be, I grabbed that and I would hand it to them. But another thing too, you can ask people is not like, well, what open houses have you seen today? You could say, oh, did you just come from the farmer's market? Depending on where you are.
Yeah.
Or, say, oh, I know they're having like touch a truck over at the high school. Cute little kids. Did you go see that? And again, it just brings up, like you say, other talking points. So that's important too. And if there is something that they're interested in and it didn't happen yet, that's like the best thing, because now you're gonna follow up with something that they actually care about.
Right.
Which is good. Well, they care about everything, but and then as far as like what to do after, right? So then we have like before, during, after. I mean, everybody has their own follow-up, I'm sure, but I think it's important to, obviously like close that loop that day. And whether you're going to text them or email something, or, it was nice meeting you. And again, don't leave it closed, leave it open. Nice meeting you. Great to talk to you about this, and that. Did you end up going to, or I talked to my colleague, Chrissy, and she said you did end up going to Blaine Street. What did you think? That kind of thing. Yeah, no rush. We can talk tomorrow, but didn't you like, the great yard over there?
Right.
Or
Always leave it off
something
with a
like
question. Don't like leave it off with like,
Right.
thank you. It was
Leave it
so
open.
great seeing you today,
Yeah.
period. Like,
Yeah.
you should always want to, like, did you have any other questions about the house?
Yeah.
Or like, I think a more dynamic question would be something that's maybe not even like that house related
Right.
about something else that you talked about to kind of spur the conversation, rather it being about the house directly, like
Something
mention,
else.
right, mention
Right.
something else, so then you can like continue the conversation, more thoughtfully and more about them rather than about the house.
Right,
Yeah.
which you're directing them all the way back.
Back
to the house
anyway, right.
And
but-
one more point to Christine's point, which be very, very, very conscious when you're writing this email, because when I go back and look at follow-up, a lot of people end their conversation with, let me know if there's anything I can do to help.
Right.
That's the worst thing you can
never
say,
right back to you. Right.
because they're not going to say anything. So ending it with a
Exactly.
question, like Christine said, is hugely important.
Yep.
So never say, let me know if there's something I can do. Just say, even if it's just, how can I help, which I don't think is good, but an ending question is perfect. Great,
And
great points, Christine.
too, about, just like you were saying about the, like private schools, right? So that's a great thing to do too, to say, great meeting you, blah, blah, blah. My friend at, my cousin works at Fairfield Prep, and I'm gonna find out actually when I talk with him tonight, if, those numbers are there, whatever it is, and then just get back to them with, whatever they want. But it's important that you strategize, you know what you're talking about during those couple of minutes that you have them at the open house. So you do have data and information to go back with. So that's why you kind of have to plan it all out.
Absolutely.
And I hate to keep interjecting, but
No, keep interjecting.
but putting in a template, like if you know when you're doing an open house, and if it's your own house, I would highly recommend, and we used to do this and I have to start doing it again because I even stopped.
Oh, always when she's gonna say something good.
For the follow-up.
We
So-
lost
Wait, we lost you. Say that whole thing again.
So creating the template for the follow-up prior to even doing the open house is really important. So you're going to create, thank you so much for coming. Here is the link to the video. Here is the link to the website. Here is the link to the brochure. And then you can add whatever you want, but at least that's there. So you can automatically email them that night, because a lot of people will wait till the next day. But imagine if you go to an open house and that night you get it from the realtor, they're going to say, wow, she's really on it. And so, but it's a pain in the butt. You're home, you did an open house, you're tired, you don't want to do it. But if that template's already there and made, that took you 15 minutes to make, and then it's there for you, it just makes it so much easier to follow up on Sunday night instead of Monday morning, or then you have the team meeting Monday and you don't get to it till Monday afternoon. So creating that template prior to the open is really important.
And
Yeah.
to Julie's point, I mean, I don't know how many of us on the team utilize our calendars to schedule our lives. But I would imagine it's a pretty good number. When you sign up to do an open house, if you sign up to do 12 to 3, you need to count travel time and you need to count time to follow up, and you got to give yourself at least an hour for most open houses after the open house, after you get back home. So if I'm doing 12 to 3, I block my Sunday from 11 to 5, because there's no way, if I don't, I'm going to allow myself to do other miscellaneous things. And to Julie and Christine's point, the follow up from an open house that same day is critical. Your success rate will be much, much higher than if you do it even Monday.
Yep.
That's a good point.
And in follow-up, boss, we do have pre-made templates for you guys. So, obviously the bombs you have to do in advance and separate, but there are templates in follow-up, boss, that you guys can utilize too to get those quick messages out there.
Yeah, that's good.
But just go to the template and put the links in for the property before you do the open house. And just go to vanderblue.com, put in the address, copy and paste that link and click here in the template. So when it's done, all of those links are there and they're going to get that information. And then what I usually do is I'll send that, and I even say, I know you're not interested. I know this wasn't really in your price point, but I'm sending the information just so you have it. But below is a link to a few properties I thought you might be interested in. So I send links of other properties in my follow-up email if they're not interested in that house. Can you still
Yeah.
hear me?
Yep, we
Yes.
hear you. Yeah, that's
Okay.
great. Again, more data, the more you can give them, the more they're gonna give back to you. And that's what we need. And Chris brought up a good point too. And I always felt like, and Julie always said this too, and every realtor will say this. If you're ending at 3, somebody's gonna walk in at 3:01. It happens all the time. Somebody will be out there, you'll be getting your sign, a car will pull up. So end your open house an hour before you really need to end it.
Mhm.
And know that that last hour, keep that for the people that are like wanting to come in. And they say, oh my God, I'm so sorry. This was closed at 3. That's okay. And then you're like, no, come on in, because you were gonna be there before anyway. So that's really important too. So then you're not stressed out. You're not trying to get
That's a great
somewhere.
point, because you can even do your follow-up depending on like if the people
You
live
can do it
there.
there still.
Right, do your
Until
follow-up
4
as you're sitting there, yeah, waiting until 4 o'clock. Tell your
Yep.
clients, hey, by the time that I'm really out of there, it's gonna be 4, because I'm gonna
Another
wait to
hour.
make sure
Right.
that there's no stragglers, because I don't wanna miss anybody.
And there always is.
Right, and then you might as well use that time, sit on the kitchen counter or sit where you could still see the door, bring your
Get all your
laptop.
signs in the car.
Right,
Get ready
exactly,
to go.
yeah,
Put everything in the car.
yeah, and then just do your
And
follow-up
then
there,
just get out of there.
yeah.
Yeah, but if you do it after the fact, because somebody's always late. And all of those late people, and Julie has a million stories about this, all of those people that are late are so appreciative when you let them in, and they will remember that.
Mhm.
They'll remember that Julie Vanderblue stayed here from 3:15 to 3:40, showing me that, taking me through this house when it really ended at 3 o'clock.
Mhm.
And then you don't have to bother your clients because they're already out.
Anyway, yeah.
They're already out till 4 anyway.
Yeah.
So that's another good point too, I think. So does anybody have any questions?
I was just wondering if anybody still is using / addressing the unrepresented buyer form. Remember what that is?
Yeah, are we using people come in?
I'm sorry?
Like when people come into the house, are we having them, are we handing it to them?
Yeah, are you using that still?
Yeah, I mean, that's another good thing. I'm talking about all this other stuff, but yeah, that is something that when they do walk in, after we're done talking to them about a Tuscany over house, blah, 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 blah. Oh, by the way, this is a form, this talks about, because then if they do have a realtor, they're telling you about it.
Mm.
So they don't want to go sit through that. They look at that form and they're like, oh no, what are they gonna start? What's she gonna tell me now? So yeah, I usually have it on my clipboard and I filled it out. And I take 30 seconds to talk about it and I tell them that and then I just hand it to them. But it's a good way to find out if they have a real agent or not.
That's a good kind of pivot for it too, because when the agency disclosure kind of was brought back up to be made prominently displayed, people didn't realize, but it should have been there anyway.
Yeah.
Like that was not one of the changes from last summer. That was actually already supposed to be implemented. So when, huh?
I don't think we did that.
No, like, but like nobody did, like
Yeah.
that wasn't really commonplace. Like, there's certain things that are what is required and then how practical is that, right? And for a very long time, the agency disclosure, the rule was that it was supposed to be there and people had to sign because of like the whole unrepresented and blah, 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 right? And there was a huge hesitation because it's like, well, how do I make somebody sign as like basically even before I'm meeting them, how do they make them sign something, right? And then kind of, I guess, how strategy has kind of continued is, have it displayed so it's there, have it near your sign-in book so they have the opportunity and they are able to see it. And then kind of to your point, and on our sign-in sheet, it does say, are you signed with a realtor? But maybe they did and you're really not sure, and maybe they didn't answer, or maybe they didn't sign yet. Using the agency disclosure as almost a way to kind of prompt them to answer as honestly as they're willing to about whether or not they're working with an agent is a great idea too.
Yeah.
And it's a great kind of pivot to kind of cover that base, right? But then still get a little something out of it. Because again, it's like,
Information.
right, it's going
Yeah.
back to like, it's not about what you're saying, it's about what response they're giving you.
Yeah,
And that's really what the important thing is. You say things to get a response. You don't say things just so they know the information. It's
Right.
more so that what information are they giving you back?
right. And
Yeah.
so they understand dual agency and all that kind of
Right,
stuff.
right.
And if they've already been through it, they're not listening.
Yeah, they're not gonna care. They're like
So you
really
can-
not
you
gonna,
can figure that out.
exactly.
And then if they look at you like they've never seen it before.
Then you know.
Then you know.
Right,
You got somebody.
yeah. So true. Awesome.
Does that answer that question, Ellen? Okay, good. That was a good question. I forgot about that.
Do you have any language that you use specifically when you have them fill it out?
Me?
Or yes, or anybody? Like, I have to admit, I'm kind of guilty of not using that form much.
Well, no, that form we fill out.
Yeah.
But
They
they
don't
have
fill
to
it.
sign it.
No, they don't.
For Higgins, they have to sign it.
Oh, they do?
Yeah. Yes.
What?
We're
There's no-
recording.
They have to even sign it.
We're recording. I think we should take this conversation
Oops.
offline, yeah. Yeah. for
Yeah, we'll
Higgins-
have to have a follow-up conversation about that later. So it's
Yes.
because I have, mixed feelings about the best way to do it.
Yeah, so in that case, what I would normally do is I would maybe hand it to them, and then again, more data, right? So now I have their email address, and I'd say to them, I'm gonna send this to you electronically, so you have it.
Right.
So you can take it, or don't worry, it'll appear in your email soon. And then you can send it through Dotloop or something and just have a little place for them to sign and explain to them what we talked about at the open house, and then, just click to sign or call me if you have questions. So I know we went through it fast today at the open house.
Yeah.
So that's another way. And then now you've got them in Dotloop. That's what I think.
Awesome. All right, everybody feel good here? Any other questions for the magical Christine Magliocco? The MCM?
And I think to Christine's success, she's, being likable and conversational is so, if they feel sold, they're not going to want to work with you. If they feel like you hear them, and I don't know if anybody does it better than Christine Magliocco as far as making them feel special and making them feel heard and not sold, and just the get used to the chatter and talking about them. And it just takes time to do that, but being likable and fun and hearing them is so important, because people want to work with people they like. That's the number one reason they choose people, is because they like them. Second would be confidence, and third would be the knowledge that you have. So they're going to work with you more because they like you than even the knowledge that you have. So, just keep that in mind when you're talking to them. Like, I wish Christine could give a class on just how to be conversational, because every time Christine and I go to Las Vegas, or wherever for coffee, we get business because she's so outgoing and personable and willing to talk to people without making them feel rushed, and hearing them and listening to them. That's like the number one thing that people like. So keep that in mind when you're at open houses or anywhere talking about real estate.
Absolutely.
Christine's a really good power of example.
It has a little bit to do with sitting there with Julie too.
No, I don't know.
How to get her
Awesome.
contacts.
Well, thank you very much for your time.
Yes,
Thank you
thank
all
you.
for your time. Thank you to Christine for putting this together. We really and
you
greatly
too.
appreciate it. Absolutely. This was awesome. I'm so happy to have had this time. I think that's everything, guys. All
Thank
right.
you.
Well, thank you.
Thanks,
All
Christine.
Thanks
right.
so much, Christine.
Amazing job, Christine. Thank you for your time, and thank you, everybody. Great to see you. Miss everybody.
Thanks,
Have a great
Christine.
day.
Welcome.
Bye, guys.
See you
Bye.
soon. Bye.
Bye.